Welcome in to another episode of the RotoViz Best Ball Show. I'm Kevin Szafraniec, and tonight I have the luxury of being joined by Conor O'Driscoll. You may know Conor from his years of writing for RotoViz, co-host at Stat Chasing, writing at Legendary Upside. But what I'm extra excited about tonight is Conor. He's not self-proclaimed, but recently he has been described by someone in the know as being potentially the best FFPC best ball player in the whole entire world. How did you feel about that when you read that, Conor?
It's quite a compliment. I think I have an edge in FFPC in particular. I don't want to talk about relative the other people, but I definitely think I have an edge. One thing I am happy about. So I want to say 4 years, I've made a cumulative 6 finals appearances in FFPC, and I'm pretty sure my entries are less than 100. It's probably around 80 or so. I'm like to get to the finals is easily a top 1% outcome, or a top 99% outcome, and I've done that way more than 1% of the time. So definitely think I have an edge here.
Yeah, nice. So Conor won the inaugural 2021 FFPC Best Ball Tourney, famously over Sean, Blair, and Colum. And then he also just put out a article this week on RotoViz talking about how he came in. He was the runner-up in the Superflex Tourney for last year on the FFPC. And I did see, on there you did say that by far this is your favorite format when you tweeted out that you came runner-up, even though they say wishing that the payouts were a little flatter than.
Yeah. Second place, first place 100,000, second place 10,000. I'll take 10,000 every day of the week. But big drop off there. I do believe that the payout structure is, at least in the pre-draft, is a lot flatter this year, which is nice. I don't have enough in front of me, but it is a lot flatter. So one thing that I kind of notice here is a lot more players in this. So this is my first Superflex draft this year, but a lot more players willing to push quarterback than years past, which is interesting.
We did draw the 103. Our first pick was Jaden Daniels, and we are currently back on the clock now. It's not looking too pretty. Nobody sticks out to me as like a glaring buy. Looking at Baker Mayfield, Derrick Henry, CMC, AJ Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Bo Nix, Drake London as the first players are the top players by ADP. Kind of who are you thinking here?
Like you, a lot of the better players are gone here. Nico would have been nice. I think Drake London is probably the right pick here.
Okay. Yes, for me, it'd be one of the receivers, be it AJ Brown or Drake London. I know that. Let me make sure. I click the right guy. That's in the small sample size between Penix and London, like 3-game sample size at the end of the season. They did seem to have quite the connection. So that's something I'm definitely willing to lean into, even though it is a small sample size, especially considering the names that were still available around him. And then swinging back around, do you have any priority targets? Because I say it's still not very pretty.
Right. So I think I'm between maybe like a Ladd McConkey, CMC, and Breece Hall.
Well, I See, and each of the streams. So I did the first stream I did this year where we did FFPC Superflex was with Russ Durham, who is actually also in this draft. And then the second one I did was with Neil Dutton. And in both of those, I got McConkey, which looks like he just go. Yeah, he's going
Yeah,
with the
he just
301.
went.
So
He just went.
I mean, between these two, like, how are you? I guess how are you feeling? I see there's obviously question marks for both of them because or else they probably wouldn't be available here.
Yeah.
There's hype that Brees may be in more of a timeshare than he's ever been before, perhaps, and then McCaffrey's obviously 2 Achilles tendonitis, or we don't know exactly what
Right.
he's going to
Well,
do.
you have the injury risk with 15 seconds. You have the injury risk, the re-injury risk with CMC, and then some noise about timeshare for Brees. Brees, we have 5 seconds here. Just take somebody. Take somebody.
Okay, I put Brees up at the top.
Okay.
See if we got him. Yep, we got him.
So I think the thing about Brees is he is clearly the best running back that they have. Like timeshare is all relevant. Most running backs in the NFL nowadays are in some kind of timeshare. And I guess one thing that's kind of interesting about last year is they went into the year trying to work a timeshare with him and the rookie that they had there. And then by the end of the year, it was no longer as much of a timeshare. Brees came on stronger or more heavy in the touches than at the start of the year. So I think that even if they go in with a timeshare, unless they take one like a Marion Hampton or something like that, I think he's still got a nice talent moat there.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way I feel about it.
Interesting. So how did your other drafts play out where you had people just willing, like we've got two teams that have just completely passed at quarterback through 3 rounds, and a bunch of teams that will have no more than 1 through 3. Is that how your other drafts played out?
Off the top of my head, probably not this many. I do know. So
yeah,
so it doesn't surprise me because Ross is at the 12 spot and he went Puka McBride at the 1-2 turn, and that doesn't surprise me whatsoever because I know that he's going to push quarterback probably as long as he can unless somebody falls to him. But it feels like people may be getting a touch sharper. Or I mean, this is early in the year too as well.
The biggest
So you would
edge in
think
Superflex has always been just play chicken and quarterback. And it looks like we've gotten in a room here where we're all just going to play chicken together.
And do you think that's maybe this is maybe a trend that won't kind of?
I mean, I have no idea. Like I said, this is my first draft of the year. I did notice that last year you had more drafters that were playing like this. So I think there probably is some kind of trend towards people getting sharper up over time. I'd be pretty shocked if every room looks like this. You might be right, and maybe we've just got some too many RotoViz centric drafters.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's early in the year as maybe more casual drafters get in. Maybe we'll see people stop trying to stockpile QB at the beginning of drafts more so than we would right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. The other thing that I like about Superflex is so you get all of this kind of flexibility. The changing one flex to a Superflex, it really balances out across positions. It takes away from receiver, it takes away from tight end. I think relative to those positions, it helps running back. And so you get a lot of flexibility at how you start your draft. But then because it kind of emphasizes a balanced approach, the challenge then with Superflex is, okay, you've started off 3 running back heavy, or you've started off receiver, running back. The challenge becomes how do you kind of rein that back in and round out your roster to be balanced which I think the format kind of incentivizes.
Yeah, and we're currently 2 picks away. At the top available players by ADP are JSN, T. Higgins, Dak, CJ Stroud, James Cook, Drake May, Chase Brown. And then we're going to Trevor Lawrence, Marvin Harrison, Sam Laporta, and we are currently on the clock. You did add JSN at the top of the queue. He would be the guy that I would be aiming for as well. If we want to go ahead and grab him.
I think the pick is receiver here. We obviously could go. I do like CJ Stroud there. I think he's a good pick after all of these other guys have gone. Let me see. Then we have Drake. Then our fallback would be Drake May, Trevor Lawrence at quarterback.
Yeah, I'd really like to get Drake. I mean, Drake May would be the guy that I would be targeting after. I mean, I don't even know. Would you be?
So
really
I think JSN is how we play it.
Yeah.
Especially with both of these both of these drafters already at 2 each. They really should not be adding a third quarterback here.
Yeah.
Like that would just be an over allocation of draft picks to quarterback or draft capital to quarterback if they added a third.
So I know you said that you haven't played any Superflex yet. As far as your other drafts, especially, I'm assuming you're doing a considerable amount of FFPC drafts. What's your tight end strategy been so far this year? Do you like the early guys, or are you kind of pushing tight end?
Well, it is tight end premium, so it is imperative to find tight end targets early that you like. In the single QB, Brock Bowers should be the 101, and he should be even in Superflex here. He should be the first non-quarterback gone, and he is often not. So that has been kind of like a cornerstone of my draft strategy. Trey McBride is a great consolation prize. George Kittle is strong too. It is a lot thinner at the kind of elite tight end position than last year, and so trying to get those guys is important. But then we're back on the clock. I like CJ Stroud here. If you want Drake May, that is fine with me. I do like CJ Stroud, but happy to go with your preference.
No, CJ Stroud's good. He's definitely my most owned quarterback across all platforms right now. Just because he, actually, so I wrote up
getting CJ Stroud, potentially legendary, who's going to have a potentially legendary career.
Yeah,
at the 5th round, surefire going to start every game that he's healthy. After Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Justin Fields, around Anthony Richardson, that this is a great discount. So to me, this is a great kind of like stars and stud, star and scrub start, where our scrub is CJ Stroud, and
it's a good scrub to have.
Right. Obviously, we're aided by the rest of the room also wanting to push quarterback, but we've now gotten Drake London, Breece Hall, JSN. So we've gotten some. To me, those are good 2nd and 3rd round picks, and we have a really strong pairing of quarterbacks here.
Yeah, and I've actually done a little bit of research on the Texans offense, just more kind of wondering, with their new offensive coordinator, after they got rid of Slowick after the season, they brought in the passing game coordinator from the Rams. So I kind of wanted to look and see maybe if we might see an uptick in passing. And I mean, it doesn't look very likely, but kind of digging deeper into some of Stroud's 2024 stats as well. Like, he didn't fall off maybe as much as it may seem. I mean, his interceptions went up considerably, but as far as a lot of his just advanced metrics weren't as bad. comparatively to his rookie season versus year 2. So, I mean, really, we just need to see his efficiency kick back up in order, and we also need to see him protected by his offensive line. I think that might be the biggest question mark that we may have about what, is he going to have time to sit back and throw? But I mean, I still like him. I don't think he fell off, maybe as much as his
right. His fantasy points were bad. His fantasy points were bad. But you're saying that a lot of his kind of advanced metrics, and so that's maybe a per drop back efficiency or accuracy is still strong. Like he looked good. It just the offensive line was poor, and so they gave up a lot of pressures, and they were not willing to pass the ball much. But I still, it's one of those things where you're betting on the talent, and all of that other stuff is sort of situation, which can change very quickly. So one thing about to keep in mind about Superflex, regards to tight ends, which we were talking about tight ends just before our pick, because you convert one of the flex spots to Superflex, it does take the more like primal need to get tight end. It takes a little bit of that edge off. It's obviously tight end premium, so you want to feel good about your tight ends, but in single QB where you have those 2 flex spots, that really amps up the pressure to get a strong collection of tight ends that is, like I said, just eased off a little bit. So even though we're coming up to 6 on the 6th round pick here, and we don't have a tight end yet, I'm not panicking yet. We will need to come up with some kind of strategy around tight end.
Yeah, I'd say the top tight end available right now by ADP is TJ Hawkinson, who's another guy I've been taking a ton of. Basically, as far as the guys that could still be elite, like my targets have generally been Hawkinson and Andrews. I think Andrews' drop in the playoffs that kind of ended Baltimore season, it really has some people down on him, and there has been some rumors that he could get moved, but I mean he's not even 30 years old yet. I just don't see the downside. Obviously, Likely's there, but I mean, Likely had like a 2 or 3 tight end 1 games all last year. So those are the 2 guys that generally I think are undervalued. So a long way of saying I'd be okay with taking a Hawkinson here if he's somebody you would be interested in. The other names that
I don't want to fall in love with Hawkinson yet, because obviously we're looking here, and there's 2 teams to draft that also don't have a tight end. And there he goes.
Yeah,
there he goes. So I like Travion Henderson here. I also like Bryce Young. Those would be the two that I would be looking at here, where would honestly fine either way, or if you want to do like a Zay Flowers, that's good with me too.
No, I prefer Travion. I think out of those 3 players, I'd for sure want Travion.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So we're building we've got a pretty well balanced team at this point. We're just missing tight ends. The other thing that I like to do when I kind of miss here, so obviously we've missed on getting all of the top top 5 tight ends. At this point, it is a strong rookie tight end class, so I will try to get a mix of the some of these rookie tight ends, and then maybe balance that out with some of the more floor higher floor veteran tight ends who are kind of locked in for a higher route share, and will kind of help buoy the ship as those rookies come along.
Yeah, would you And I know it's kind of a gross name to talk about, but how would you feel about trying to get Ertz later on to stack with Daniels? I mean, he had 66
Yeah, that's
receptions
fine.
last year. Uh,
That's fine.
I mean, I don't know. Cliff Kingsbury seems to love the guy, so I mean, I don't know if he's
I mean,
gonna.
he's old, and you got to be careful with the. Okay, so
Yeah.
there goes Mark Andrews, and then I mean, the only thing I'd say here is the way we've spent our draft capital here at quarterback. We can certainly afford a third quarterback, and there's some pretty strong options here. We can grab one and then just be locked up at quarterback.
Do you feel like the upside of Penix, especially with Drake London already on the roster, stacking? Do you think?
Oh yeah. Let's stack Penix up with our early receiver. That makes perfect sense.
And the only other player that I would even think about pitching would be Tet McMillan. But if you think that right now just locking up quarterbacks the best way to go, I'm 100% okay with that.
Okay. Yeah, I think Penix is probably the right pick here.
Okay. Awesome. So effectively, we're essentially done. I'm assuming at quarterback, unless
completely done.
And then we're just gonna have to
at quarterback.
So through 7 rounds out of the 3 spot at quarterback, we have Jane Daniels, C.J. Stroud, Michael Penix, which I actually like a lot. I think that's probably one of the stronger quarterback rooms that I've had in this format so far this year. At running back, we have Breece Hall and Travion Henderson, and wide receiver, we have JSN and Drake London, which, I mean, to me is a pretty exciting build, especially being,
right.
a RotoViz, drafter. At times, I feel like I can kind of overdraft maybe wide receivers, where I see these guys that I consider wide receiver values, and I keep taking them, and then before I know it, I'm kind of thinner at some of the other positions. So this is pretty. I feel like this is a nice balance, and then obviously we just got to worry about tight end.
I mean, we're gonna need to figure out tight ends, and then there is a strong impetus on us now to take receivers.
Yeah, by ADP, the best tight ends that we still have are Jonnu Smith, Travis Kelce, David Njoku, Tyler Warren, Evan Ingram, Dalton Kincaid, Tucker Kraft, which is Jonnu Smith. I was going to say, obviously, the first by ADP, Jonnu Smith would be somebody I've been interested in, even though, he might have the I don't know what the right word is, the stigma around him of being maybe a 1-year wonder. But actually, I am currently in the middle of a series where I'm basically diving into the advanced stats explorer on RotoViz and kind of aggregating all the data from the 6 years that's in there. And I mean, Jonnu Smith was showing signs of, especially like in his yak. I mean, he was above the 90th percentile of the whole 6-year sample for, multiple times in his career, but he just was never like the clear-cut tight end one on his team. So, maybe it's obviously hindsight's 2020, but it made a little more sense of like why he was able to break out once he got to Miami. So he's somebody that I was excited about.
Makes sense. I mean, where kind of what you're saying is he had good efficiency stats, but he wasn't playing as much as he needed to get the aggregate production. And then once he found a team that did actually prioritize playing him, he's able to keep carry forward and probably improve on those efficiency stats in a way that you feel better about projecting to continue forward.
Yeah, and right now, so maybe when we swing around, you have added a bunch of wide receivers. The Q-Tet has not gone yet. As he's kind of getting pushed down draft boards a little bit, everybody's kind of wondering, if he can make it. He might be, instead of being, a top 10 pick like he was projected earlier in the process. People, have him mocked to maybe like Pittsburgh at 20. I mean, Dallas maybe at 12. So, I mean, it seems like his stock is kind of falling, but he is a guy that I really, really like. Just to put it bluntly, he's the guy that I'm still targeting consistently. Just throughout the whole entire draft process, I've really liked what I've seen from him, and when I've dug in deeper, there isn't really anything to me that says that he's going to fail. I mean, people are comparing him to Drake London. That's in the box score scout. That was his closest comp. But the guy that I see, which some people might kind of scoff at, is like, I mean, ceiling case obviously, but almost more like DeAndre Hopkins, more so than Drake London. And so as he goes off the board, so currently in the queue, we're 6 picks away. We got Jamison Williams and DK Metcalf. Other top players by ADP right now are Quinshon Judkins, Najee Harris, Kelsey, Chris Godwin, Tyrone Tracy, Aaron Jones, David Njoku, and really like even maybe more so than Williams and Metcalf, and Njoku would be somebody I'd be interested in. I don't know how you feel about him.
I think I would be my personal rank would be Jamison Williams, Dan Njoku, and I'm certainly not married to DK Metcalf, so would not pound the table for him. So yeah, then did not mean to add Tony Pollard. Then I think this would be a pretty good spot to add. Like if we were able to come away from this turn with, let's say, Njoku and Tyler Warren, that would be pretty strong.
Okay. Well, I'm not opposed to Jamison Williams either, especially, being the best ball format. I think he is truly one of those better and best ball sort of guys that can literally blow up a week by himself. So if you would, out of the wide receivers that are still available, he'd obviously be my favorite. So if you would, how are we looking? So the two teams that are going to be between us on the turn currently one of them has a tight end.
Right.
Mark
and
Andrews.
Somebody could double top as well.
Yeah.
So tight end probably is the one that we want. And so of all those three players that we're talking about, all of them made it. And so now it's, I guess it's a question of, do we take Njoku and just, maybe we do take Njoku and see who makes it true to turn?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. He's really I'm so about Warren. I mean, I like him as a prospect. I'm just not sure that he's going to come out of the gates firing.
I mean, he's going to be a top 15 NFL pick, probably. And so the pressure, there's tons of pressure to play those guys.
Yeah.
So we're both agreed on Njoku.
Yep. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And Njoku popped in a lot of more of the volume metrics when I was digging into routes and targets. Obviously, he missed a bunch of time last year, but he was, as far as like routes per game and targets per game, he was up there. Especially, we don't know who is going to be Cleveland's quarterback. We can all pray to God it's not Kenny Pickett, but I mean, I hope maybe if the Browns can pry away Kirk Cousins from Atlanta, that would probably be ideal. Especially maybe if Cousins is at the noodle arm stage of his career, that maybe he might just pepper Njoku with targets in the short area of the field. So that's, I guess, maybe the best case scenario, because I don't know if Shadur would be the best case scenario, but I do like Njoku. It's just more of, he's one of those guys that needs to stay on the field to do it. But as far as the volume and everything, also signs kind of point to him, being, big volume earner, essentially being like the Njoku and Judy show. Even if they add somebody, on day 2 of the draft, you can't really imagine that they're really going to come and steal a bunch of the target share away.
Right. Right. He's still an important piece for Cleveland. And we've pushed tight end quite a bit. So it was important to get some level of stability there.
Yeah, and we are around the turn. So far we have 3 wide receivers taken. So let's see what happens. And the player in the 2 spot is on the clock, and they did not draft tight end again, but they already had Mark Andrews.
So
on the
we're
roster.
back on the clock.
Yeah.
I like Tyler Warren here.
Yeah. Said I
that
am
way
cool.
we're feeling good about tight end.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've pushed receiver quite a bit here. We're balanced everywhere except we're a little light at receivers. So this is going to be a drop where we will be taking a lot of receivers at the end. A lot of receivers.
And it seems like more so in FFPC versus other formats that are a little more wide receiver heavy. I mean, this rookie class is not great at wide receiver, but even the guys that maybe the more day 2 sort of picks that could be something, you're going to get a little more of a discount than other formats, which is kind of nice. Like the guys that talk about like Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris, I mean, even like somebody like Matthew Golden, who's going to go in the first round. Essentially, all the younger wide receivers seem to go a little bit later on FFPC, which is kind of something we can play into.
Right.
Just in general.
Right,
See,
for sure.
as long as I know if I have a couple of good running backs, I usually feel good. Because if I get to this spot now where I'm like only have 1 or so running backs on the roster, I mean the guys that you're looking at now, these are still like Jalen Warren is still on the board, who's somewhat interesting. Then you're looking at like Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson. So it gets ugly pretty quick. So I'm glad we grabbed the guys that we have when we did.
Right. We've 2 early running backs here. So we're in pretty good shape at running back. We have to play it now as if those guys are going to be big time contributors to us and kind of hope that we can hit on some late round I guess breakouts.
So just
but receivers definitely the weak point of our draft here. I don't I'm actually questioning myself. I don't normally go through 9 rounds with 2 receivers taken.
Yeah, me either. But I think I feel confident that we'll be able to at least come back and put together a solid wide receiver room.
Right.
Would you, and obviously, emphasizing wide receiver here, is it something where you would like pass up maybe like a clear value at another position to start stacking on a wide receiver, or are you still kind of, mostly going best player available?
So it no, I don't. I think we have room to kind of like if we get a crazy sliding value to add at other positions, but of our next so we've 11 picks left. Of our next 11 picks, 6 to 7 of them have to be receiver. So that leads 4 to 5 other positions. So we that leaves us plenty of room to take sliding values. We just have to be pretty disciplined about adding receiver too. Like that has to be a clear priority for us.
Yeah, this is kind of uncharted territory for me. So, but I still, I feel confident in kind of letting the room kind of play out and being able to get some good values as we go.
Right.
And currently Ross is on the clock. So far, Ross, our other RotoViz guy in here, he's got 2 quarterbacks in Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy. He's got the kind of what the wide receiver room we want. He drafted Puka, Garrett Wilson, Roma Dunze, Jordan Addison, Jerry Jeudy. At running back, he's got Amari and Hampton. And then his 2 tight ends, he's got Trey McBride and Tucker Kraft. And I'll tell you what, Tucker Kraft, just a little preview into the tight end article, is obviously not somebody, obviously he had his breakout year in his second year. He finished as a tight end 10 in PPR. But just that the crowded Green Bay passing attack and slow run heavy offense, like they averaged the least amount of pass plays per 60 minutes during the regular season. Like they were tied for the 4th fewest, total plays per 60 minutes. Lots of receivers, but Tucker Kraft, his evasion was, literally the best season by a tight end in the whole entire 6-year sample when you incorporate volume and just, obviously pure evasion between broken tackles and forced missed tackles. So, I mean, he's a guy that I'm not necessarily getting, super hyped about because that offense doesn't seem like it's changing, but he's, especially in like dynasty leagues and things like that, if they ever get into like a larger, higher volume passing offense, he's somebody that I think is going to be, could really kind of bust out as far as somebody who may be flying a little bit under the radar.
Yeah, makes sense. He certainly that was his kind of thing where he broke tackles at a he looks like a machine with the ball in his hands.
And so in his rookie season, he had a decent broken tackle percentage, but didn't force a single missed tackle. But in year 2, I mean, he was, I think, up to like 14% force missed tackle rate. So somebody I'm definitely kind of more dynasty driven, but yeah. So we are 2 picks away in the queue. Currently, we have Luther Burden and Emeka Egbuka. I mean, Burden's would be the guy that I hope would make it to us.
Yeah, I hope we get both. Would be my okay. So I'm you want Burden over Egbuka? Yeah. It sounds pretty strongly. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but I want both, and so I'm happy for Burden to be our first go at it.
So we still got 40 seconds. Do you want to make any sort of case for Egbuka?
Well, I mean, the whole thing about Egbuka is like, oh, he's just a slot receiver. He doesn't have the juice to do anything else. I mean, the guy ran a 4.48, and he is one of the like, to me that's a decent amount of juice. I live in Columbus, so partial to a Buckeye, and he was one of their best players throughout his entire time. So I think that's going to be a very good NFL receiver.
All right. But are you still okay with Burden as time's running out? Okay. So we're going to get Burden. I think I feel like there's a good chance that Egbuka, swings around. Right. And that's something too that when I initially watched Egbuka, I thought
this guy one needs a tight end.
Yeah, hopefully double taps.
He should. Honestly, he should.
But yeah, upon like kind of more watching Egbuka further, and maybe it was more of his 2024 highlights, or because all that stuff wasn't available when I first started initially doing rookie research this year. It was more like 2023. When I watched him, a second go round, I'm like, what was I talking? Like he looks like he has more juice, and maybe he was even watching like the college football playoff. I'm like, this guy has plenty, like you said, he has plenty of juice, and then he showed it at the combine as well, put it up the numbers there. So now he's somebody that I'm perfectly fine taking. I think I just like Burden's skill set a little more. Big time dominator ratings. I think he was over 30. At least the last 2 years. I know he did take a little bit of a dip, but
this guy's going to double. He's going to double Otto. Jeez, that's brutal. Yeah, not everybody realizes that. Okay, so we're running Egbuka to the podium.
Yeah, 5 seconds in, he's submitted.
Oh, you already got it. I was about to click it. You got it. So, yeah, not a lot of people realize if you're at the turn and you auto your first of 2 picks, the second will auto as well.
Yeah, and he didn't. I mean, he must have had some guys in his queue because Dalton Kincaid was the first by ADP. So
yeah. Maybe he intended for that to be what happened, but a little surprised. So. That has to make us feel a lot better about receiver.
Yeah, it definitely brightened my spirits just in the matter of a minute or two.
To me, 4 strong receivers is a pretty good core to go around. We want more, obviously, but with, like I said, with one of the flex spots being Superflex. Our roster is kind of committed to playing 2 quarterbacks every week. So we only have 3 starting spots dedicated to receivers. And one of them could be if Njoku works out, if Warren works out, they'll be in play for flex as well. So I certainly feel a lot better about our receivers now, having grabbed both those.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Just as maybe like a macro level strategy. So say, we're in around 8 and 9. We got our first two tight ends. We have, Njoku and Warren. Say, I don't even know if we would want to call him a floor play or whatever. Say we had somebody like Ertz. Would you be?
Oh, you're still trying to sell me on Ertz? You're like, let me bring up a macro question. Can I talk you into the second time? Can I talk you into drafting Zach Ertz?
This old man. They can't make a or just
so Zach Ertz is certainly not a priority for us, right?
Yeah.
You have to agree with that.
Yeah.
So we can only play 2 tight ends a week. We haven't added the tremendous amount of draft capital to tight end, so we certainly have room to add one more. Zach Ertz could be that player, but far from priority is how I would say.
I guess the question I was leaning into before getting very micro on my macro question was would you be looking maybe just to stick with 3 tight ends in this sort of build even if we add somebody that's
yes. In single QB you punt tight end this much, you need to take 4. But like I said, with you lose one of your flex spots in Superflex, which is one of the most important ways that it's a key way that tight ends can contribute. So remember, we can only play 2 every week, whereas single QB, assuming we're playing a second QB, we can only play 2 tight ends, which is different to single QB. And so the need at tight end is lower. That's how I'm saying that very scientifically, matter of fact. Some of it's opinion based on fact, I guess.
Yeah, and that's kind of I feel like I still consider Njoku a pretty solid tight end 1. Like the biggest thing is health, and I do like Tyler Warren. Watching him, he looks like he has the movement skills of a much smaller man. He's about 260 and I don't know what he's 6'5" or 6'6", and they played him at Wildcat quarterback at Penn State. I think he's going to be a good NFL tight end. I just hope that he's a good tight end off the rip is my only concern. Just depending on say he lands.
Well, whoever drafts him hopes that too, because they're using a top 15 pick. You don't take somebody with a top 15 premium NFL pick and have them ride pine if you like your job.
Well, I'm thinking more of he's mocked consistently to the Colts if he gets there. Like say he's stuck with Anthony Richardson or who just misses him and they can't stay on the field and can't sustain drives. I'm just hoping.
And we shouldn't have taken Njoku.
Amen. Okay. Yeah. Oh.
Sorry, I probably sound like an asshole.
No, not at all. So we are on the clock. Would you be interested? My preference here may be Tajay Spears. I do like Cole Kmet. Those I guess would be my
I would still feel better at adding another receiver.
Okay. You did add McMillan.
I think McMillan is a strong pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. So we added McMillan, then swinging around.
So now we're at 5. We're at 5 receivers. We're feeling a lot more comfy. What I'm not as I don't think I love what's his name Spears as much as you do.
Okay.
I didn't enjoy last year where he seemed to get iced out a lot. That was my my issue.
So are you kind of thinking best player availables were 2 picks
Uh,
away?
so I like Trey Benson.
Okay.
If we're taking running back, would be who there goes Zach Ertz breaking your heart.
Oh, my man. Yeah, Benson is somebody who I have not really been taking very much of, but when they say that his upside case, as long as they don't draft somebody on top of him, is still the same as it was last year.
Right.
Where and it just so happens that Connor stayed healthy for the whole entire season for the first time in his whole career. We're not really giving Benson that much of an opportunity to really showcase what he could do in a workhorse role. So
Right.
he's somebody. I mean, I'm okay with taking him here if that's who your preference is.
Yeah, I do prefer him to Tajay.
Okay.
And I appreciate you giving me that preference.
That's all right. I mean, it's also somebody too who I've been drafting a good amount of Tajay, so it's definitely thinning out my exposures and going in a different direction is something I definitely want to do. Like I said, and I think maybe my aversion to drafting Benson this year might be an overcorrection because I was just so heavy on him last year, just thinking that
Right, and he didn't work out at all.
yeah.
Which sucks.
So I think that's that overcorrection on my part is something I got to look at because even when just going through more dynasty stuff, but right before cutdown day for FFPC, I mean he was one of the guys that I highlighted as a buy. So it was just with the case that that I just pointed out that essentially his upside is exactly the same as it was last year, as long as Arizona just doesn't like drop a day one or day two running back on top of him.
Right. Yeah, and all the running backs have what you call it have more risk attached to them than normal, because of it's a strong running back class.
Yeah, and that's kind of leading into are there any other veterans that you may be targeting in the late rounds at running back? Or are you pretty much just hammering rookies in most of these drafts?
Mostly rookies.
Yeah, that's what I just
Mostly
hammer.
rookies.
Yeah.
There's a couple like Will Shipley is still very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
In a certain room, I might take Justice Hill, just because he is somebody who the team likes a lot. He plays. He's cheap, and you are kind of like when you're just hammering rookie running backs, he can be a nice complement to that room.
Yeah, that's I've gotten into a few drafts, like I said, where I go wide receiver heavy early on, and then I may have one veteran running back, and it's just like rookie. So I've been trying to kind of, I mean, I love the rookie class. Obviously, it's going to be a good one, but sometimes when I look at those sort of rosters, I'm like, maybe I should have just, like maybe got some more surefire early season carries on this roster.
Right.
Then we're 8 picks away. The top running backs by ADP. We're looking at Javonte Williams, George.
It's coach speak, and that often comes with fluff. He said this. The head coach of the Cardinals said this in February, but he said if Trey takes the necessary jump from year 1 to year 2, I think we have 2 starting running backs. That's how I view those guys. You see certain teams out there with 2 1s. I would say I think we should have 2 1s next year. Does that make you feel any different about Trey Benson?
Yeah. I think I was already kind of leading that way after even the last week or so, where my drafting, I hit drafts hard early in the season, and that's when really
Right.
I wasn't. Now I've slowed down considerably. So, but I think he's somebody that I'm willing to admit that I may have been a little too harsh on.
Yeah. No, I get it. One of the advantages of drafting, so starting drafting early, is that it makes you challenge your takes sooner, so you get more time to think about them. And I bet I have biases and preferences that I haven't fully thought about that could easily be challenged.
Yeah, I'd rather my own personal. I'd also rather kind of round into the form. Maybe some more casual drafters are in the rooms. Getting ironing things out with all the sharp people. Like I think the win percentage of my teams goes down considerably in these early contests just because there's so many sharp people, like the real sickos that really just have a hankering to just draft all year longer in these.
Right.
So I'd rather kind of like work my things out now and then really just try to make considerably more money following the draft.
So I was going to suggest a tight end, but we've just had a major tight end run that wiped out those values.
Yeah, we are back on the clock.
We're back on the clock. And so the two that I would be thinking about here would be Devin Neal.
Okay.
My often co-drafter, Sacrilegious, would be asking me to consider Brenton Strange.
That's what I was gonna.
I think I prefer running back, just to add that for the running back.
Yeah, that's cool. Say Strange. Strange, when going through the advanced stats explorer, his profile wasn't flawless, but he did pop, across essentially in every article that I've written so far, which I'm currently writing the fourth part of. He's popped in at least one or two metrics in every single article, and at least on par with like kind of what Evan Ingram did in a similar environment last year. So he's somebody that I am kind of getting a little more bullish on now. And then the other players that I would ask you about pretty much would be so Strange. If we wanted to go tight end, he's the guy that I would go for. I'd be interested in Giddens or Harvey, and then pretty much our wide receiver
picks. Those are all strong picks.
And do you have any sort of interest in Dalton Schultz as a stack with Stroud? Because he's not somebody I'm really okay.
No, I do not want that player.
I'm okay with if you're okay with one of these three guys, I'll let you make the pick.
I probably prefer like one of the running backs, if I'm being honest.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Do you have a preference between?
No,
Giddens would be
I don't have
guy.
a strong preference between them.
Okay.
Do you?
Giddens is the one I'm drafting a ton of, so I would be okay with either of them. I like them both. Giddens is my preference, but I also have a ton of exposure to him. So, I currently have him lined up to be drafted, but if you want to switch to Harvey.
Okay. DJ Giddens it is.
Yeah.
So now we have we've 5 receivers, we've 5 running backs, we've 2 tight ends. We passed on Strange. And I'm still open to a third tight end, depending on who falls to us. I think that it is a deep tight end class.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like us to consider somebody like Mason Taylor or the guy from the Hurricanes. I do feel like that's a good way to leverage taking Njoku, where Njoku kind of like he's who leads the pack from us out the gate. But we don't need him to maintain that down the stretch, because we have Tyler Warren and then hopefully maybe another rookie who could emerge as the season goes on.
Yeah, so were you so other guys other tight ends that I'd be interested that have ADPs before that would be like Fannin, Jatavian Sanders, or would you pretty much be looking to like save one of our last few picks, like just continue to hammer wide receiver and maybe a running back or two, and then just literally one of our last picks?
I think we're close to done at running back.
Okay.
We've taken 2 early. We're on 5 total. I guess we could add another. I'm not totally opposed to that. And
the as far as wide receivers, we still have a ways away. We're still 12 picks away from our next pick. I mean, guys like Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins, guys I mentioned earlier that are kind of have later ADPs in this format than some other places, are guys I'd be interested in. Coker, big upside swing, Jalen Knoll. Those are all guys that I would be kind of looking more rookies, unless there's some certain veteran.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great picks.
Keenan Allen just went. I was going to ask you how you feel about is Keenan Allen somebody you're still like even contemplating drafting? No.
Once those older guys start showing cracks, it's hard to go back to the well.
Yeah, if he falls far, I'll take a swing on him, but he's definitely not somebody you feel great about. Feel great about drafting. All right, we so through 15 rounds, we are currently sitting at 3 quarterbacks with Daniel, Stroud, Penix. We got 5 running backs: Breece Hall, Travion Henderson, Trey Benson, Devin Neal, DJ Giddens. We're at 5 wide receivers: Drake London, JSN, Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka, Jalen McMillan, and then 2 tight ends in Njoku and Warren. So you currently added all the you added Harris and Higgins, the rookies, to the queue. One veteran who I don't know where his ADP is as of right now. I'm going to take a look, but Diami Brown is somebody, as far as like a 5th-year breakout, is somebody that I am interested in. I saw Palmer's in the queue as well, and he's another guy that fits the mold of a 5th-year breakout.
I gotta be honest with you. I did not mean to add Josh Palmer to the queue.
Okay. Well, yeah, he's still one of those 5th-year breakout guys that he kind of fits all the criteria that Sean laid out in a 5th-year breakout article years ago. Between past pick 50 in the draft. Harris. Yeah, and Jaden Higgins as well.
Sorry, I shouldn't interrupt. You go ahead.
No, it's all right. No, I was gonna say we're just talking the 5th-year breakout stuff where basically
so I do have a comment. The thing about the 5th-year breakout is that Sean does identify characteristics that make them more likely, but one of the overall themes of that article was just how rare they are too. It's really hard to hit on a 5th-year breakout, really hard. So I tend to be a little bit shyer about trying to play that.
Yeah, the one that I have been kind of like giddy about is Diami Brown. I don't think I've really drafted. I may not have drafted any Palmer this offseason. I'm not really sure. I might add him to like a Bill stack in one of the last rounds, but Diami Brown is the one that, if I was going to kind of go for any of them, he's the guy that I really like. Do you have any interest in Coker at all?
Yeah. Not opposed. Not opposed.
Okay. I have him kind of like lumped in with the guys we have in our queue right now, being like Noel and A.O. Maynor. But he's kind of in I feel like he has like that same sort of similar, upside. And we actually saw a little bit from him in year 1. It's just, the biggest thing is just, we know how teams are about draft capital, and it could be easy for somebody to get dropped on them and just kind of get the benefit of the doubt off the rip, and then Coker will have to earn his way back on the field again.
Yeah. So speaking of taking, I think the falling value here is maybe Ollie Gordon. Maybe that's the move. and take your sixth running back, feel good about that, and then pick up the pieces a little bit at receiver.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah,
so we are. It does put us in a position where we're really hoping Io Manor is the one who makes it back.
Yeah, I actually just wrote up Coker's first season as well, and I mean, really, he pops with comps like rookie year comps like Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, Kenny Galladay, Demaryius Thomas. Demaryius Thomas's second season was terrible as well. The other three guys hit pretty well in their second season, but it's not something that obviously you can bank on. All those guys were actually drafted, and like in the case of Jeffrey, he was a second round pick, and I think Marshall was a fourth round pick. So that definitely is not something you can bank on saying, hey, this guy's for sure the next guy to pop. But at least
they could just draft somebody and then he doesn't play.
So yeah, I'm with you.
But they seem to like him. He played his way from being an undrafted guy or 7th round guy, I forget which, to being somebody that they kind of featured.
Yeah, he was undrafted, and he started the season on the practice squad. Didn't even see the field till week 4, I believe. So, but yeah, Io Manor would still be my my favorite of the guys with 2 picks left before it gets back to us. So.
Okay, so he does make it back to us. So I think we're sprinting to take him, sprinting to the podium to take him. Take it. And so that leads us with 6 running backs, 6 receivers. And so we're kind of hopeful that Drake London and JSN that does put the way we've drafted does put a lot of stress on those players to pan out. And then we're hoping for rookie breakouts from Burden and Abuka, and a strong second year from McMillan. But if we get those, this is going to be a really strong team.
Yeah, McMillan, he's the one guy that I was kind of almost hoping that Godwin would go away and take open up a little more opportunity for McMillan as somebody who I was hammering in drafts last year and in Dynasty and things like that. Do you still feel strongly that he'll be able to still emerge in year 2? Because I've kind of shied away once it seems.
Yeah, like I mean, if I felt strongly about it, I don't think he'd be a 12th round pick. If we all felt great about that second round, our second year jump, it's obviously it's a thinner bet, but he did play well to end the season. He was a very important receiver for them in a passing attack that was effective. So there's feathers in his cap, but yeah, it is harder to see him being like a primary receiver for them over Evans and Godwin. But he how much did they true for 4,500 yards? Like that's a pretty high volume offense, and so being the third receiver can certainly be pretty fantasy viable.
Yeah, and he I know at the beginning of the year too, they seemed like they were pretty intentional about trying to get him featured in the offense, and then he had he wasn't very efficient off the rip, and then kind of got dinged up here and there. But it didn't seem like it was just it seemed like they came out of the gate almost trying to get him more involved, and it just kind of didn't really click until the end.
Right. Yeah, it didn't until the end.
But I mean, even writing up, the waivers article he had a touchdown streak, which obviously isn't super sticky, but scored a touchdown, I think, or 3 or 4 touchdowns in the last three weeks of the season, fantasy season. So he came on strong. It wasn't just it may have fell under the radar because maybe not everybody was fully paying attention at that point. If you're out, or a lot of the casual people probably aren't really super tuned in at that point. But yeah, he's somebody that I loved. Obviously, I think he may have been my highest owned receiver. Maybe
yeah. And if you look at his last couple of games, He did have 2.1 yards per out run and 21% targets per out run from week 14 through 18 on the RotoViz stuff. So I think you can make a pretty legitimate case that he did come on pretty strong at the end. And I guess you combine that 21% target per run with 11.4 ADOT, and that's pretty good. So I do think he can make a case that he can have he can still have a strong year, especially when you account for that we got him in the 12th round.
Yeah, we are currently 5 picks away. Best, I guess, receivers, between tight end and wide receiver on the board right now by ADP are Wicks, Pierce, Noah Fant, Noah Gray, Hopkins, Jack Betch, Mason Taylor still there. Conklin. Yeah, we're starting to get back into the kind of ugly zone. I don't know if we want to slide a little further. Would you want to? I mean, you did mention Taylor by name earlier. Arroyo's gone. If we want to grab him here, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, let's see who. Oh, we're on the clock now. So yeah, Mason Taylor would be my preference here.
Okay, I'm okay with that because, particularly because nobody else really looks all that
right
that enticing.
So Jack Beck went. He would have been somebody who I would have been interested in. So
flipping gears.
Darius Slayton is definitely an NFL receiver. Is somebody I would suggest.
Yeah. And I do have, my guy who's pretty polarizing in the rookie class is Jalen Royals. He's kind of who I would pitch for, but I draft him all the time.
Let's take him.
Okay.
We're not talking about the cream of the crop here.
Yeah, and just kind of going down, further down the line. Slayton's a guy that's he resigned for a pretty decent salary. So, killed any lingering hopes that Jalen Hyatt could be a thing in the NFL probably. But especially with things changing in that quarterback room, there's always a chance that he could pop as well. Then even going down further down the list, it's pretty much
okay. Well, we're not going to get Royals.
I'd be you added Slayton to the queue. I'd be okay with him if that's
yeah, he's fine.
Okay.
Like I said, definitely an NFL receiver. It's kind of like the best thing you can say.
Yeah.
But like you said, he got decent money.
Mm-hmm. So they actually kept around for something. He's a little older than I expected him to be. Kind of long in the tooth. I believe he's, let me look it up real quick, but I believe he's
28.
27, 28.
No,
yeah.
He's 28. He turned 28 in January, which, yeah, he's been around for a while. I think his rookie year was Eli Manning's last season. Which that
yeah, I remember. He popped it. Kind of going down the list of wide receivers, not a rookie, but a veteran that I may be interested in. Michael Wilson from Arizona. Is he somebody that you would have any sort of?
Yeah, he's fine. Also in the kind of category of definitely an NFL receiver that will play receiver in the NFL this year.
Another guy that I'm not sure. Probably borderline like day 2, day 3 guy. Ty Felton is a guy that I been drafting a ton of.
Sure.
And I know a lot of people are pretty high on.
Yeah,
Restrepo.
Yeah, I'm certainly not gung ho on Restrepo, but given like that he actually did play pretty well. The biggest thing that we're worried about is the slow 40 time and that depends on like, do you believe his excuse that he had an injury during the 40 time, or is he just making an excuse and he is actually slow?
I don't know.
Like, will it actually translate to the worst draft capital that people are supposing? In the 20, it's kind of like in the 20th round, you can pay that price to find out.
Yeah, and it didn't really hamper Jarvis Landry much. I mean, that's kind of who if his best case scenario, obviously, is a really, really
Right.
Best case scenario. But I mean, Landry ran like a 4.7 40, and it didn't seem like it really hindered him that much for the first few years. So
he used injury as an excuse in his 40 time.
Yeah,
which is pretty.
Like I say, in the 20th round, kind of as you alluded to, he's not somebody that there's worse picks that you can make, especially when we're the third to last pick of the entire draft. So I mean, as long as one of those three guys makes it to us, I am content kind of going with them.
So looking up, I wonder how much it changed his consensus mock draft stuff. So they're saying that he's still projected to be a day 3 pick.
And
which is interesting.
When I was deep in the weeds, doing
stuff day
for
2 round 3 is what I meant.
Oh, I say that. Well, yeah. Then that. Say when I was deep in the weeds, around March, right around combine time. That's essentially where he was too. He was still sitting around, pick 80, pick 90. So it doesn't seem like he really changed much at all.
Right. I mean, you see players, Kyle Williams, he was kind of buzzy, but his kind of consensus big board is 107. So he's another guy who's borderline as a day 2 or day 3 pick. And maybe his direction of travel is more positive, but
yeah,
I don't think. I mean, even take him in round 3.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing with Restrepo is that nobody was really expecting him to run fast. I don't know. It's like, oh well, yeah, we knew he was slow. Why did he run why did he even bother trying to run?
Right.
I think otherwise people would assume maybe he ran a 4.6 or something like that. So I mean, it is what it is at this point. But yeah, I don't really think it. I didn't expect him to come out blazing. So it doesn't really change my opinion on him considerably at this point. I mean, I guess the big debate is if, it's assuming, especially more so the rookies between, Restrepo and Felton, would your lean still be Restrepo if he's there?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Based on draft capital.
Like 20th round. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I say Ty Felton's one of those. He's one of those guys that when you watch him play, it's easy to kind of fall in love with. He's kind of like tall and lanky, but he's fast and all that stuff. So I think he's a guy that's easy to fall in love with that could essentially not do much when it comes to the NFL. But he's a guy that I've been taking. He's essentially like undrafted in probably like 50% of drafts that I've been in. So he's somebody that I've been drafting a considerable amount of. You're 2 picks away as things winding down.
Yeah, I do like the I do enjoy the FFPC 28 rounds, but you're definitely digging deeper into the barrel. So okay. Yeah, I still think Restrepo is a fine kind of rescue pick for us.
Okay, cool. I'm cool with that.
And then there we have it. So this is a team that's unlike what we normally draft. where I think we had just 2 receivers after 9, I think it was. I think we wrapped it up pretty good.
Yeah. As long as one of I think our biggest thing is just as long as one of those 2 rookies hits. That's kind of what, and I feel good about it. I
Right.
like both of them. I like the prospects that both of them will see the field early and can make. And I think, especially, even the fact that they're probably going to be later round picks might, and then they could hit and or end up getting dropped into like a good offense already instead of like one of the bad offenses at the top of the draft. Kind of works in their favor as well.
Right. Makes sense for sure.
Oh, and we are now joined. Ross, who is drafting out of the 12 spot, is going to jump in and kind of help review the draft, and then we can get out of here. What's up, Ross?
Sorry about Nico Collins, guys.
we're that's all right.
Well, so you were in. Well, I guess the one thing about 2 kind of RotoViz centric teams, at least we're on the opposite end of the draft board.
I kind of wanted to, be able to be the one who sniped you guys with Nico Collins, but yeah, it worked out pretty nice. We didn't fight too much.
Yeah, say you want to go over your draft?
They took Nico, and then they went 4 quarterbacks right in the middle. And then I think they used less draft capital than we did on receiver ultimately.
They went, you start Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, you might be willing to push it a little far. Oh my goodness, I didn't see how far they pushed it. You're right. That's pretty wild. Dang. Yeah, they also went with Dak over CJ. I guess they thought Stroud might fall back to him, but that seems a little strange. But then why is Anthony Richardson going so much higher in Superflex than he's like QB 30 or something in standard PPR?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I do think it's likely that this is just like a quirky drafter who has their own ranks.
Yeah, it's definitely
they do their own research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you want to review your draft real quick, Ross?
Yeah, sure. So I was out of the 12 spot. I had the turn. I did a fair amount of reaching. I went to Puka and Trey McBride there at the beginning. Came back and got Caleb Williams and Garrett Wilson. Did not anticipate Justin Fields going mid-4th. Reasonable, but I didn't. He's pretty standard 6th, 7th round for so long. I thought he was probably 5th round now. I had a chance at getting him back, but no chance there. Omarion Hampton in the 5th, J.J. McCarthy right after that, and then stacked Chicago and Minnesota with Odunze and Addison. Went Tucker Kraft and Jerry Jeudy. Nice little slide on Jeudy. And then went Scatabo and Jordan Mason. Kind of wishing maybe I had taken Golden or Josh Downs with one of those picks, but that's okay. Dylan Sampson and Daniel Jones at the next turn, who I'm pretty confident will be the starter there by midseason. Harold Fannin and Damian Martinez, Elijah Royho and Adonai Mitchell, and then Marshawn Lloyd and Kenny Pickett. I could have easily taken Kenny Pickett at the 19-12, but that just I had to leave him for the last round there. That was a hard clip.
Yeah, the last round, Kenny Pickett.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! So you're the one who took Arroyo. We were talking Arroyo. Arroyo and Taylor. Yeah, at the end. Yeah. So he's a guy I like considerably. I mean, it's kind of going back to the first draft we did this year. It says you're very is rookies or bust at the running back position for you.
It's all rookies. Yeah. I could have easily gone other directions from Marshawn Lloyd, but I just wanted to, I have to have someone who has been in the NFL at least a day already.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You
kind of went opposite to us in terms of you did have 5 receivers through 10 rounds.
Yeah.
But you pushed running back quite a bit. And like we mentioned, it is rookies or bust.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting how it works out. Like we pushed receiver much further than either of us is comfortable with. And we're definitely relying on receiver or rookie breakouts there.
Yeah. You guys had your fair share of rookie running backs, though. I didn't really think RJ Harvey or DJ Giddens would come back to me, but I had a little hope. I love how you guys are sitting through 5. I just love that team so far. Jaden Daniels at 3 was probably your favorite scenario there. And then were you hoping to get TJ Hawkinson there in the 6th when you took Travion? I wasn't listening.
Yeah. We really wanted TJ Hawkinson.
I thought it would be unfair to try and sneak in and listen to you guys, but when that pick went, I was heartbroken for you. I didn't even know if you were aiming for him, but I was like, dang, that would have fit very nicely.
We're recording anyway, so it doesn't matter. We weren't streaming, so this won't come out till Monday. Definitely don't want anybody sneaking in on the.
I could have snuck in right here. I could have snuck in and listened. You'd barely even noticed.
Yeah. So Connor, the question I have for you is there anywhere like that you would have, if you were drafting on your own, deviated from kind of where we went, like 100% of the time?
So I try to draft pretty collaboratively. I'm trying to think, is there anybody that I don't think I maybe wouldn't have taken Njoku. But if I was on my own, I am a little bit shy on Njoku, and maybe would have gotten Jameson instead. But then we would have been a lot more sweaty at tight end. We would have felt a lot worse about that tight end run in the 14th. So in retrospect, I'm glad that we took Njoku, and I like how we used the Njoku pick to get the rookie tight ends.
Yeah, so the guys, we had Williams in the queue, and we're kind of hoping he swung around. And the other guy, Juwan Jennings is a guy that I'm really high on this year as well. I think he'll probably end up being the wide receiver 1 for the 49ers. So, I mean, either of those 2 picks could have easily swapped in there. But like you said as well, and I say Njoku really is kind of one of those, over his career, I guess, more of a feast or famine play. But I feel like he's leveled out a little bit more the past few years. And I think really it's just hoping that something levels out in that Cleveland offense to the point where I think he'll get the volume. It's just who's going to be delivering him the ball. So he's not somebody that I'm getting tons of exposure to. Like I'm not like overexposed to him, considerably, but at the same time, he's not also somebody who I'm not like too shy about drafting as well.
This is a good, I don't have a ton of Njoku either. This is a good roster to get him on. Like, he's a high variance guy. If you're only going to have a few and you need extra leverage on a roster like this, that's a good one to have him with. And to pair him with Tyler Warren is good.
Yeah. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the draft. I was happy. I told Connor in the first few streams that we've done this year for the show. You and I had the highest pick. I think we were at 4 and we picked Hurts there. And then when Neil and I did one last week, we were at the end of the draft order. So I was happy to at least get one of those top 3 guys at least once. But I mean, I think it's almost more fun if you can, go and start stacking up studs at other positions and kind of fill in quarterback later. Connor was kind of alluding to, since this was his first Superflex draft of the year, he was kind of pointing out that there's a lot of teams that are kind of punting quarterback in these drafts, or at least in this draft. And I was like, and he asked me if this was like common, and I was like, I don't really remember 100%. I know that's what I've tried to do in my drafts, but
to me, I think it's way more than last year. I mean, FFPC has a good relationship with RotoViz. No one has pushed for 0 QB more than Sean, and the results the last few years have been fantastic. So I expect there's a lot of people who are just like looking at, I mean, last year in particular, I just wrote it up as part of the article I'm working on right now, but there were like past QB 22, I think, was Sam Darnold, Bo Nix, like something like 4 of the top 10 quarterback finishes came after round 8 in ADP. So like there's probably a reaction to that from last year. And it's just a pretty decent year for it. This is actually even a little bit earlier than I've seen for some of these guys. Cam Ward, Geno Smith, Michael Penix. I didn't get my Matthew Stafford share. I thought I might get in the 7th.
Yeah, it was fun. It was funny how it worked out. Where early in the draft, lots of drafters very comfortable pushing, but then kind of losing their stomach. And they're like, okay, well, I pushed, and now I'm afraid of getting locked out. and just that kind of middle rounds, 4th rounds and 5th round, big quarterback run. And then you, like you're saying, a lot of the rookies going earlier than normal too.
Tell me, can you guys talk me through? I'm proud of you guys for taking Breece Hall over CMC, but did you guys talk through that much?
Yeah, we
rated it as a toss-up, and I think you were nervous about Breece Hall getting in a timeshare, and I think I preferred Breece Hall over the injury stuff just because. Whenever you have a player of the talent of Breece Hall and you hear timeshare, it's like, well, they have to be better than him to force any kind of real timeshare. And the whole NFL is a timeshare now. that was kind of my logic.
Plus, is there anyone you're less worried about in a timeshare than someone who can break off 70-yard touchdowns like within a game on any particular given snap? Like, I'm usually not worried about those guys being a 1A.
Right. And like I said, somebody actually has to be better than him for or at least come close to his production to actually force him off the field.
I'm looking down through here. Should be on the 6th. I thought I might get Jalen McMillan. In fact, he disappeared out of the queue simultaneously as I was putting him in the queue, and you guys took him. Kevin, I thought am I remembering wrong? Were you a little bit down on McMillan?
Yeah, Connor and I were kind of talking through it as the draft went on. But he said really the upside case for him, in the 12th round, the upside case for him to come through in year 2 is pretty solid. So coming on at the end of the year with good, yards per route run and all that sort of stuff, really in a high volume offense. He's definitely not somebody that my exposure's up on. I was drafting him considerably more early in the offseason before, when it was still a chance that Godwin could leave. So I kind of got my exposure up at that point, and then I've been backing off since.
We were in a corner as well because we only had 2 receivers through 9, and so we really had to prioritize getting more onto the roster.
Well, I'm one step past where you're at with McMillan now. I took so much of him before Chris Godwin re-signed, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I have this huge bag of him. I better stop, and then I just stopped. I just completely stopped taking him, and now I'm like, he was absolutely fantastic to end the year last year. I can't have no exposure to this guy just because you ever just like mess up. You think you have a certain exposure and you're working off that premise for so long that it's nothing like what you thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And receiver and wide receiver tree in a 4,000 to 4,500 yard offense, just so different to like 3.5 to 4.
Yeah.
Well, I say happy with the team. Say Ross put together a little more of a RotoVizian team, but I say regardless, still happy kind of with how me and Connor were able to kind of finesse the draft in a little. It's always fun kind of going off script, off something that you wouldn't ordinarily do. So happy with that. I want to thank both you guys for jumping on here. Do you guys have anything coming down the pipe that you want to promote before we get out of here?
I got my, I've been working on this article. I haven't been working on the article. That's why it hasn't come out. I have a 2-month-old baby, and I've finally set aside some time where my wife has promised she's going to hold down the fort so that I can finish it up hopefully in the next 2 days, and it should be dropping within the week. Just based on, it's just for never too early structures, just structures that work better before the NFL draft than they do after the NFL draft, and looking at the early months for different structures.
That does sound very interesting. Nothing down the pike for me. I'm a couple of weeks behind you. My baby girl just turned 6 weeks old.
Oh, I didn't know. And you've had time to get how many 125 tournaments have you put in?
I'd say like 5 or 6.
That's your brand. You gotta keep pushing, baby.
I'm putting in as many as like the lobbies allow. It's hard to get them in. I only do the fast drafts. I don't have the attention span for the slows, and I'll do as many of the fast as I can, and just not that many fill. So I'm hoping that more fill as we come towards the draft.
Well, the middle of the night feeding the baby is the time for a fast draft. I don't know. I don't know if Dr. Spock put that in the book originally, but that is a fact. So take that with you.
Yeah, I think, Ross, did you say you have the one-handed drafting on your phone down while you're feeding the baby?
I kill it. Yeah, you just need the little strap on the back of the phone. You'd be set.
Well, that's awesome. And Conor also did have his kind of a recap of his runner-up Superflex draft from last year. He wrote an article up on that, kind of detailing that. So that's up on the site right now. In between that and kind of listening to Conor's insights, through this whole entire draft, I think pretty much anybody would be set to jump into an FFPC draft. And if anybody out there that's watching isn't currently playing at the FFPC, you can use the code 25 RotoViz, 25 ROTOVIZ at sign up and get $25 off your first team. You jump into one of these drafts, it's only $10 for your first Superflex team, and then you're off and running all season long. So what's not to like at this point? It really is. I always pump it up, but it's like it literally is the most fun format. Whether it's even 1 QB, just the tight end premium, FFPC is really my favorite platform to play fantasy on. Whether it's season-long dynasty, you have it. There's price points all across the board. So great format, great platform. I want to thank both you guys for jumping on. I had a blast. I hope you guys did as well.
It's great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for agreeing to come on. And until next time, everybody take care and have a good week.